Hello, my wonderful creative writing students. We are going to work on writing a free verse poem. First of all, I would like to speak to you about the feelings many have on free verse poetry. Some may say, does that mean anything goes? How do you know if it's a poem? I'd like to tell you about a humble pineapple two students placed on a table at an art exhibit. They came back the next day and glass was around it. They were stunned. They said, it's a pineapple we bought for $1.30, and now there's glass around it and it's part of the art exhibit. And people are trying to decide what we were saying with the pineapple. And so it was kind of the laughing stock of Britain for a while, trying to make something artistic out of something that was not. That is not free verse poetry, my friends. A free verse poem does not have a rhyme scheme or a meter. It's composed of thoughts and feelings or images that follow the natural cadence of your speech. The poem creates their own pattern without set rules, and the poet is free to decide where to break the poem into stanzas. No constant meter pattern, rhyme, or any other musical pattern in free verse poetry. Here's a tip for writing free verse poetry. It's one of the simplest and yet most difficult types of poetry to write. Without rules, it requires the poet to really think about how he or she would like to express a feeling or an insight into life. Some people find that very liberating, and some people find it difficult. Here is a very good tip. Choose your words carefully. Short words with sharp consonants cause the reader to stop. It's kind of choppy, like stop, kick, bite, punch. They sound like they're mean. Use short words if you want to show fear and anger. Long words are soft sounds, and it causes the reader to slow down, perhaps a feeling of peace or laziness or rest. Here's an example of a free verse poem. Up, up, click, click. Wind blows sharp in my ears, my heart jumps, skips. It's up higher, it's up the highest, hands grasp at the clouds. Then a forever pause, still, waiting. Finally, whoosh, deep drop, down, down, down. Look how the short words move quickly as you read them. In the middle, the longer words stop at the top of the roller coaster. It forces your reading to slow. And then there is the drop-off at the end. Down, down, down. Here's another technique that may be used in free verse poetry, or any poetry or prose for that matter. Personification is giving human qualities to inanimate objects or animals. Night crept in, slow and smooth. It smothered the city in darkness. Lights in windows of tall buildings blink. 1, 2, again, and opened their bright eyes. So much can be said in a few words in free verse poetry. You asked what was wrong, and I said nothing. Then I turned around and whispered everything. Your gorgeous chaos was a danger to my beautiful ordinary life, and I knew that. Then suddenly we became beautifully extraordinary together. Notice the use of a lowercase I, and there are no capitalized words in any of this poem. The most painful tears are not the ones that fall from your eyes and cover your face. It's the ones that fall from your heart and cover your soul. Beautiful images, beautiful insights. The murky water crashes against the speckled sand, the water bringing gifts, gifts made of shell. The shell's blinding white. A girl picks up the blinding white shell and feels at peace, because the stunning beach is a retreat from the pain that is life. Notice the beautiful imagery in Fog by Carl Sandburg. The fog comes on little cat feet. It sits looking over harbor and city on silent haunches, and then moves on. I loved this free verse poem, Disappointments, by Vivian Gilbert Zabel. Every life has a room where memories are stored, a box of special occasions here, shelves of shared laughter there. But in the shadows lurks a trunk locked tight, not to be opened and searched. There hides disappointments which darken every heart. Walt Whitman was one of the early masters of free verse poetry in the English language, and he really paved the way for others to follow. Here's an excerpt from the Song of Myself. I celebrate myself and sing myself, and what I assume you shall assume, for every atom belonging to me as good belongs to you. I loaf and invite my life. I lean and loaf at my ease, observing a spear of summer grass. William Carlos Williams was a doctor who became friends with other poets, and his free verse poems are quite extraordinary. Here's one of his famous poems. So much depends upon a red wheelbarrow glazed with rainwater beside the white chickens. In free verse poetry, since there are no rhyme schemes, syllable restraints, or stanza restrictions, please make sure that each phrase or sentence is looked at carefully. Make sure that the word you end on is the one that you want the reader to pause on. It adds extra effort, extra effect to that word. Let's write a free verse poem. In some of my other classes, I used pictures to inspire free verse poetry. We used Answer Garden, and all of my students would just add any adjective, adverb, phrase, noun, anything that came to mind from this picture. They all received a copy of the Answer Garden words, and then they wrote poetry. Let's look at a poem, a free verse poem inspired by this picture. The mysterious dame shielded everything but her one blazing eye fearfully. The shadows from her garb accentuated her few visible features. She inhaled and exhaled shallowly, yet quietly, praying not to be seen. Her complexion was porcelain-like, smooth and pale. The beast caught her faintly sweet scent in his keen nose, and just like that, the strikingly beautiful dame was gone. Here is our next Answer Garden example. Many students tried to write free verse poetry based on this picture. Not many of them chose to submit their free verse poem, but they liked trying to see what would happen, what they could come up with together. Here's our most popular picture that we used as a basis for free verse poetry. Let's read some of the examples. The scorching yellow brick road was rocky, dry as a bone. Curvy hollow reminded me of Mars. Glistening gold as we boldly traveled down the yellow brick road, the solitary ruffled desert ocean begins its dance of symmetry. Rings of illusion surround the natural desolate plain, while swirls of clashing rays extended into the bright sky, hypnotizing the fiery colors of a sunset superior in its glory. Circles of light set ablaze a heavenly torrent of flaxen terrain. Or the glistening gold of the warm mountains, such a beautiful, mesmerizing, vivid fragrance. strolling through the heavenly land water, warm the desert ocean and cool the vast sky, crashing waves of yellow, fiery rock. Oh, what a heaven of glistening fire. As you can see, anything can be an inspiration for free verse poetry. Do not psych yourself out about this. You all have something to say. You've all had life experiences that have helped you learn about life in ways others may not understand. You can look at any image and write a poem. You can think of any time in your life and write a poem. You can think of experiences of others and write a poem. Remember that you only need 3 poetry selections for your poetry project. Please try a free verse poem. Make this one of your poetry attempts. I cannot wait to see what you have to say. Good luck, my friends.